Orders are going.
Thank you for joining us for the East Aurora Village Board meeting for June 2nd, 2025. If you could please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please, Maureen.
Trustee Lazikis.
Here.
Trustee Cameron.
Here.
Trustee Vijay.
Here.
Trustee Flynn.
Here.
Trustee Raby.
Here.
Trustee Shear.
Here.
Mayor Mercurio.
Present.
7 present, 0 absent.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the Village Board meeting for May 19, 2025?
So moved.
Moved by Kristen, second.
Second.
Second by Molly. Further discussion?
A resident who spoke at the meeting wanted to clarify what he said.
In the minutes?
In the minutes, we won't be changing the minutes. However, I will read what his concern is. He spoke at the meeting regarding, his name is Steve Chasey, C-H-A-S-E-Y. He spoke at the meeting regarding his concern over pickleball in the village. His focus was on a concern I individually had regarding the use of courts at Warren Park since the park abuts my property. I'd like to make it clear that I do not support the courts at Hamlin Park, Warren Park, or any park property, whereas the sound from the game directly and negatively impacts the use and enjoyment of the neighboring residents and their properties. I request that the meeting minutes are updated to reflect that I do not support pickleball courts in the village where the sound negatively affects the residents. That was not what was said at the meeting. The minutes reflect the interpretation of what was said at the meeting, but we are noting this because that is what his opinion is.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Moved by Kristen, second by Molly. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Can I get a motion to approve the payments of the abstract for June 2nd, 2025 for the 24-25 fiscal year with a total of $100,809.68.
Motion.
Moved by Jeff, second.
Second.
Second by Ernie. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. First, speakers and communications is your opportunity to talk on any topic. Please keep your comments under 2 minutes. When acknowledged, come on up, give us your name and address, because we record all the meetings, and there will be a second opportunity at the end of the meeting. Anyone? Sir, the handsome devil with the hat.
Oh, you're very kind. Good evening, everyone. It's nice to see you. I'm Mark Warren from 107 Center Street in the Village. I wanted to talk about deer for a minute, the bait and shoot program. My wife Joy is here with me tonight, and we're like-minded on it, and I know this board has considered the issue. So, listen, I respect all the reasons that have been proffered to this board for a bait and switch program, public safety, property damage, all those kinds of reasons in support of the program. But forgive me, I'm here to speak for the deer, all right, because they don't have a voice. And they have been indigenous to this community before we all were here, before there was a village of East Aurora. And I just think we need to coexist with these animals. I think all the rationalizations that have been proffered to this board for a bait and shoot program, forgive me, I know they're all in good faith, but to me, to us, they come off as rationalizations for cruelty. Cruelty to those animals who are shot. Now, some people will say, well, it's merciful, it's for the good of the herd. I'm pretty sure that those individual animals who are killed do not view it as an act of mercy. It is cruel. And I have no quarrel with hunting. I know it's part of our culture, no issues there. But when we talk about governmental, institutionalized killing of these animals, I just don't think we should do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone else?
Hi, everyone.
Leslie Wade from 239 Sycamore Street. I might go a little over just because I have a letter that a researcher wanted me to read to the board. There's been some new developments since last meeting that we want the board to be aware of. East Aurora is listed on the United States Pickleball Noise Hotspots site. We are one of 11 in New York State experiencing excessive offensive pickleball noise. This past week, we've been contacted by Nalini Lazarus, who is the founder of the Lazarus Foundation, in addition to a lawyer who is currently in pickleball litigation regarding a similar situation, a sound engineer who provided a soundscape study for Hanlon Park, and also Charles Leahy, who right before I came to the meeting phoned me, who is a pickleball noise consultant and researcher. He begins each meeting with a recording of pickleball. These experts are all working on the impact and effects of pickleball noise to nearby residents. Each used Google Earth of Hamlin Park to evaluate noise in proximity, and all concurred that pickleball courts are too close to residents and added that additional noise abatement would not be of assistance. Nalini Lazarus wrote a letter to the board with attached pickleball research, including a brand-new study that states the physical and psychological effects it has on those exposed to pickleball noise continually. She was concerned about the board not receiving this before the meeting, so she asked me to read it so it's on public record. In the summer of 2024, the Robert and Nalini Lazarus Foundation, a California-based nonprofit known for its community-focused initiatives, took on a new challenge, pickleball noise. Recognizing that outdated noise ordinances and zoning restrictions often fail to protect residents, we partnered with medical and engineering experts as well as impacted residents to collect information and firsthand accounts from a growing number of residents across North America facing a new and serious noise nuisance from improperly sited outdoor pickleball courts. Last summer, we released a set of regulatory guidelines to helpful to planners, developers, and elected officials. I am writing today on behalf of the members of your community as you consider once again the location of outdoor pickleball courts close to homes. The current location at Hamlin Park demonstrably failed to comply with the East Aurora Noise Ordinance, Section 171.1, which states every person is entitled to an environment in which disturbing, excessive, or offensive noise is not detrimental to his or her life, health, or enjoyment of property. The sound from pickleball is called impulsive noise, a high-pitched, short burst, chronic, persistent, repetitive noise that harms nearby residents. It penetrates homes, it ricochets against reflective wall surfaces, travels above the court's sightline, and negatively impacts the mental and physical health of residents. Second-story living will hear it worse, which often means bedrooms. Referring back to your noise court, there is nothing normal about the impulsive noise from pickleball. It is unlike any other noise that other residents in East Aurora experience, whether that's soccer, tennis, baseball, basketball, etc. Typically, those other activities do not generate noise complaints, and they do not go on all day, every day. Even fireworks require a special use permit. Due to the fact that the number of players will always dwarf the number of nearby residents within 1,000 feet, this noise impact has been misunderstood or minimized by many. Frustrated residents have lost control over the soundscape of their own homes. This noise travels past windows and enters the body of residents, described by some as an acoustical assault. It is untenable and unreasonable that a small group of residents would be required to sacrifice their health, well-being, move-in in their homes, and a potential loss of property value, just so others can play pickleball on that site. I've been unable to find a noise impact study on your site, and that would have been the appropriate first step before opening these courts, or any courts for that matter. Longtime residents near Hamlin Park are reporting significant distress due to excessive pickleball noise. Notice of their complaints have been submitted to your board and mayor on multiple occasions. And then she goes on to say that the chart below is taken from a new medical study on physical and psychological impacts of reported in a recent medical study that came out in May. You all were supposed to receive this, did you receive it?
We got it.
You did. Okay,
We got it
good.
this morning.
She was afraid that it might not get to you, and she asked me to read it. And then there's attachments to it that are very important, and the one is the study that just came out, the physical and psychological effects on nearby neighbors. New research shows that the pickleball noise appears to raise major health concerns for residents living near the courts, and it goes into all the physical and the psychological symptoms, phantom pops, headaches, hard to concentrate, irregular heartbeat, high blood pressure, cardiac, disrupted sleep, psychologically, anxiety, depression, stress, severe distress, torture, nightmares, trauma, all of those above. But the one that is added to it that a number of people have talked about is the PTSD. And I did feel really bad when Tom Coffey or Mr. Coffey got up to speak, because he's a Vietnam vet and he lives a couple blocks away, and he expressed how this noise from these pickleball courts trigger his PTSD. As far as letter writing comparisons, of course you're going to receive more pickleball letters from players all over who want more courts. They play for an hour or more and leave to go to their peaceful homes. They are clearly not impacted or not knowledgeable of the research that's out there. The issue is not about popularity, availability, and convenience. It's about longtime residents who are suffering due to this noise and forced to live it 7 days a week. This is about research-based facts and data, scientific analysis that all states these courts are too close to residents and belong in rural settings. Over 2 years, a lot of us have compiled research. We've included the Pickleball Association's research and sound analysis, and there's not a shred of evidence that supports the courts being there. They 100% agree that proximity should be minimum to 600 to 800 feet. EPA is now coming out with 800 feet. Pickleball players have little at stake here, but we have our quality of life at stake. The sport was not in Hamlin Park when we purchased our homes, and no, we are not sound sensitive, or we wouldn't have purchased our home by the park 40 years ago. One trustee recently said to me, the court should never have been placed there. It was a mistake, and I apologize. Another trustee questioned due diligence and expressed empathy for what we are all going through. The mayor said that he did not realize that there would be league play from all over. The leagues continued coming all last year, morning and night. Ernie stated that it was actually louder standing in Rachel Francis's backyard than by the courts. There's other courts that people can play on. I mean, you've got South, Warren, Emory, West Falls has 2 courts, East Aurora Country Club for a small membership fee, Como Park, I know that's a distance, but it has beautiful parks. It's a beautiful, rather beautiful courts. And we just found out from a gentleman that's working on the project up at the high school that the 6 old pickleball courts, and I think you've already had correspondence about this, are being turned into, or the 6 old tennis courts are being turned into pickleball courts. And I'm not sure how they're going to line them. If there's 6, will they do 2 for each court? That gives you 12. Or if they do what a lot of people do, 4 for each court, that's 24 courts. And it's the perfect location, sound-wise, for neighbors. We feel we have validation and support by experts who have studied this noise and its effects. We continue to advocate for purchasing hockey nets or a lacrosse net for that area. They've always played out there with plastic hockey sticks and tennis balls on an unused tennis court, and no, hockey is not even close in sound in comparison to pickleball. We nearby residents are overwhelmingly grateful that nets are not up. We ask you respectively to not put them back up. We've suffered enough. Please give our lives back to us. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? All right, that closes our first speakers and communications. We have no public hearings. Moving on to official considerations. Can I get a motion to approve Hamlin Park's temporary use permit for Kevin Beers of Revive Wesleyan Church for Church in the Park each Sunday in August, August 3rd, 10th, 17th, and 24th, 2025, from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.?
Motion.
Moved by Jeff,
Second.
second by... did you-
2024?
What's that?
2024?
I can't hear
You
you.
said
2025
2025.
is what's on the updated.
2025.
Oh, I don't have an updated agenda.
So second by Steve.
Yep.
All right, further discussion? Anybody notice any changes from last year? Is the applicant here? Hi. Do you want to say anything? Now's your chance. Just so you know, in the past, the noise, again, to the neighbors is usually our big concern,
Yes.
not starting too early.
Right. My name is Marguerite Gibson, and this is Bob Gibson, and we live in East Aurora at Stonegate. And yes, we were aware that the noise had been a concern, and so the service doesn't start until 11, and you guys had said initially, I think back in 2022, could you hold off on doing the sound check until 10 a.m.? And that's what we do.
Perfect.
If there's anything else, we'll be happy to accommodate.
Great. Anybody on the board have any questions for the applicants?
Did they have the sound amplification last year too, for bands?
Yes.
Was that
we've had
last-
it
okay.
each year, and we accommodate the requirements, yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's been years since we had an issue with
Is it
that.
the same person setting up the sound equipment that has done it in the past and is familiar with,
Yes.
Our concerns?
Yes.
Okay.
Kevin Beers is, yes.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
because I don't believe we got any complaints
Oh,
last
we
year.
didn't get any last year, I don't think, did we?
I don't
No.
think so.
No, it's probably been
It was
5 or
fine.
6 years.
As long as they keep doing it the way they did it.
Thank you. Yes, we will. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Gibson. All right, moved by Jeff, second by Steve. Any other discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved? I get a motion to approve the temporary use permit for Victoria Sturman of East Aurora Chamber of Commerce for Operation Kid Zone to accompany the sidewalk sale on July 26th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m.
So moved.
Moved by Steve, second.
Second.
Second by Molly. Further discussion?
So this closes off Riley Street
That's new.
on a Saturday, right? And that's when the farmer's market's going. So is it the entire,
Do you,
Is
you
it
know what,
all of Riley
Victoria, do you
Street?
want to come on up and just give us a quick once-over, please?
Sure. Victoria Sturman, Executive Director of the Greater East Aurora Chamber of Commerce.
Carrie Evans, Special Events Coordinator of the Greater East Aurora Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, so what the plan is only to close part of Riley Street up to East Fillmore so that it will stay open. And then the farmer's market, they can park in the parking lot, they can on the street, East Fillmore. They'll still have access to the parking lot itself, the big parking lot, off of East Fillmore as well as on Church Street. So.
And are you going to have the events right in the road, or?
Yeah, just like we do with the sidewalk sale. This is specifically, though, for Operation Kids and Kids Zone. I don't know, Carrie, if you want to talk a little, or the last year we had big tent in the middle of Main Street, and then we used the Dopest Dope parking lot. This year, that's not going to allow. We can't use the parking lot this year, so we're trying to figure out a way to allow the kids to still have Operation Kids. And the big kid zone, a lot of people really enjoyed it, and we have had plans to have the Village Play bus there and all sorts of things. So we did try a bunch of different alternative ways to do it, but we all kind of came up against roadblocks with all of those too. So this is kind of what we're hoping to do, is just from Main until East Fillmore to block off the street, put kid vendors in the street as well as family-friendly vendors, Village Play bus hopefully. We've talked with all the businesses. They all seem okay. We've negotiated with them and given them sponsorships and space on the street to kind of help lessen the impact that it would have on them. I don't know, Carrie, if you have anything.
No, I think the response from
Excuse me.
most of the business there, we had several who were also just enthusiastic because it allows them to participate as well. And yeah, basically, as Victoria stated, we're just looking to have an area where we can spread out the kids, have them be more part of the festival, and also include some more. We're limited typically to about 10 kids that can participate, and we get huge interest in it from families. So we'd also like to be able to open it up to have more kids participate.
What are you doing between the parking lot and the street where cars may want to come out of Ace? And
Well, they would have to go out, I would
are you
assume I would
blocking
talk
it
with.
off, though? That's my
Yeah,
point. If
I
there's-
would-
enough barricades to do all that?
Okay.
So in speaking with my special events coordinator, Lieutenant Waldron, it was described to me that you were asking to use the sidewalk on the side, not close the street down.
No, it was the street. We were talking about closing the street.
Okay, well, what about like subway
mean-
traffic and things like that? Have they been spoken to?
Yeah, we've talked with all the people in the plaza. We've talked with Ace. We've talked with Riley Street, the ice rink. We've talked with all of them. I mean, we can certainly talk about putting it on the sidewalk, but then I don't know. Then we have to I don't know what we have to do to do just the sidewalks. it had always been closing the street was what we had talked about.
How large of an area would you need? Would you be able to potentially use the parking lot behind Griggs and Ball? Well, whatever. Griffin, sorry.
We had
Case.
kind of thought about that, but I don't know then if we would be required to get all of the owners of the parking lot to then sign off, and I don't know how that would impact like Ace Hardware, if they would be really upset then, because then we are shutting down their parking lot, whereas now they still have access to it.
Okay. I mean, I love the idea of doing something for children. I just think we might have to get creative with protecting it.
That's okay. I mean, we're open to doing whatever. If you want the sidewalks, we can do the sidewalks. We just wanted to have more space for them, because we're really limited with that tent.
Sure.
And we're just trying to do something.
I love the idea of giving more
Kids
space for the kids, for sure. We just got to make sure we do it safely.
Last year, and we had really hoped that we'd get the Dopisto parking lot, but they said that I guess they have plans for the inside of the building, and they weren't sure if it would be available at that point. So it was just, to have to go back and tell kids, I'm sorry, we haven't been accepting any registration for it yet either, because we've been holding off trying to figure out a way to do it. So
Vicki, how much space do you need?
That's a lot.
what do we need? We need
say.
Would it
just for
depend
the.
on Temple, like to
Well,
avoid Fillmore?
We tried Temple.
tried
Rick's
that.
is upset about the sidewalk. They were worried that they would get sued if people tripped on the sidewalk. So that's why, and they wanted us to ensure that that wouldn't happen. And
On the
we
sidewalk?
couldn't do that. So
Oh, another
Is there enough,
concern.
is there enough
sidewalk's
space
pretty large.
between
Attorney zone.
Main Street, because Main Street's closed off that day, right?
Yeah.
Is there enough
Sure,
space
fix the
between Main
sidewalk.
Street and where the Subway parking lot starts? Just in that square?
Yeah, cut it off before
Just cut it off at Subway, just in that block?
So just do like that little block of
Yep.
Riley Street,
Yeah.
that the rest of the.
Yep. That way the
Like-
traffic can still.
I mean, if you only had that little parking lot before, you need that whole street all the
We
way
don't
down
need
to
that
the
whole
ring.
Because then you can
street.
just
We're
shift,
open, we
you can
use
shift
them.
those end
Or
barricades
even
down to
like,
the subway
My
entrance.
concern is
Between that
truck
parking
traffic
lot
getting
and-
through. You're gonna make all the truck traffic coming down Main Street go down.
They go a
into
different
Wally's.
way. They go,
They stop
the
there
DOT detour goes around anyhow. That will still be available. I
do
just
they-
want to kick into consideration like the rink. The rink has
Right.
events on Saturday mornings.
Yeah,
You got to be
we-
able to get into their parking lot.
Well, we've talked to them. They said they don't have an event that day, so that
Okay.
they were okay. They have an event later in the evening, so does Riley's, which is why we were hoping to close it. Like, we were going to end that portion of the festival at 3 o'clock to open up the street by 4, so that everybody, for their events, there was plenty of time.
Could you use the rink itself as, if they don't have an event, and
No,
inside the
They
rink?
charge us a lot of money to
So
do it.
as,
That's the
as
problem.
Jeff Raby said, that
Yeah.
would you be able to
That section.
just take it and section up before
Yeah.
the Manny's public parking area, so that parking is still accessible, and you got the space
Mm-hmm. So
at
like
the
all the way
corner?
to like
Almo-
that
Yeah,
first
to the
entrance
end
to
of
the
where
parking lot?
Subway's parking lot is.
To Subway Park.
Yeah, subway.
Parking lot?
Yep.
Yeah.
We'd have to look at it, because we were
Measure.
gonna give the kids 10 by 10 spaces for like those canopies, and so.
Oh, this,
could do-
for their business?
Yeah, for their businesses, so that they would have their own, just like a regular vendor would have their own space. I mean, the whole point of the event is to,
How many
Do you,
do you think?
yeah, how many?
we would
purchases?
like to have up to 12 or 14 kids.
That's not bad.
On either side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
that's only
Yeah.
6,
7 and 7. that
you
should
could
be
even
enough.
do a 3-row, side,
Yeah.
middle.
We have a
Make
measuring
two,
thing,
an
so
aisle
we
with
can go out
three.
and
So,
measure
so
it.
is this something maybe that Dustin should be working with Victoria to figure out for, maybe for the next meeting versus us?
I
Kinda.
think in the interest of just, we'll make it safe and we'll make it work. We're just going to have to probably squeeze it down a little bit from her original request, but
That's fine.
I don't want to
I'm
hold it
fine
up
with
so
it.
they can start registration, but we can make it work. We're just going to try to make it smaller like Trustee Raby and Trustee Lazikas.
Yeah, the
said.
only reason we went down there was because we thought that's where we had to actually close the street. We thought that the only way we could close it is at like a stop sign or an intersection, so that's why we pushed it all the way down that far. But, we're willing to do whatever to give them the kids. I mean, even if we still end up with 10 or 12 spaces.
Well, you still have plenty
I
of
think you
time
could
to
do it.
make changes
Yeah.
and adjust
Do
it.
you need us to vote on this tonight for
It
your
would-
thing, or
it
can we
would
wait
be-
till the 16th?
Well, it
after we
would be
buy into
helpful just so that we could open it up and because the kids
Okay.
are asking and they need to make whatever the crafts are that they're making.
Well, yeah.
So,
Well, let's
We'd
make,
approve
let's
it-
put a
we'd approve it
caveat on
based
it.
on Pat being happy that it's going to be safe, right? Pat and Jeff?
Yeah.
That they can execute it?
I think the idea is to make it a little bit smaller than what she's asking for in the interest of safety, but I think we'll be able to accommodate that.
And not to throw the monkey wrench in anything, but just from any business concerns from the other businesses and liability, because then they will come to the board. Have all the businesses that
It
you're
says 210 feet.
closing down and
That's
their street in front of them are.
Yes,
good.
they're all on board with it,
Everybody's
yeah.
on.
Actually, yeah, Riley's, and they're all, Riley
yeah,
was
that's
gonna
right,
put a
yes, we
tent
want
in
that.
their parking lot and serve food outside and be a part of it, and Ace was gonna be a sponsor, and we'll still.
And if they
obviously
shorten it up,
but-
if they shorten it up, nobody will be impacted.
I don't want him,
Yeah.
won't
Yeah,
affect him.
yeah. We're actually wondering too, if we get that village play bus, the big school bus too, is there a way that she could park that perpendicular across the back end of it? Like in front of the barricades and then do it kind of that way so that she could be a part of the event too?
I mean, you can park the bus where you want to park the bus as long as it fits, but we would not use that bus as a safety barrier.
No, but if she could, if the safety things were there and she parked on the other end,
We
blocking
would still,
that.
we would do the same safety barrier. However you decide to park vehicles is what you guys decide to
All
do.
right, cool.
But if you want that in the actual area.
It is. I'm gonna try.
They don't need
Yeah, we'll handle all, yeah, just like we do with like our food trucks and stuff.
All right, so
We'll handle all
we
that.
could,
She can
we
do it
could,
too, so.
if, Steve and Molly, if you still want to move forward with the motion, we would add, I guess, a condition that Pat and the police department and Jeff Stoll and the DPW are comfortable with the final safety plan, and then you guys would probably want to sit down and meet with them and
Yeah.
work out all the
I'm good with that.
specifics.
Definitely, we can meet,
Sounds like a nice thing.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think-
And
Fingers crossed.
Kristen was just looking on Google Earth to the parking lot of Subway from the crosswalk is about 100 feet, so you
Oh,
could fit
that's
10
perfect.
tents
Yeah,
on each
that's
side. There's
great.
20.
We were looking at Temple and it was only like 20 or 30 feet, so that'll work.
So
Okay.
you could
Yeah.
cut it off right at Subway's thing and still have it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, Steve, you want to amend your motion?
Did I move it or did Molly? I did?
Yeah, I second
Oh,
it.
man.
Steve
I can't
moved,
even
Molly
remember. So how do I have to amend this?
With
A contingent, I move
Contingent upon
contingent
this-
upon approval of the police safety measures
And DPW.
and DPW. I didn't want to leave you out.
Molly, you want to?
And I second that.
Molly will second that amendment. Any other discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I got a motion to appoint seasonal part-time DPW employee Rhett Krieger at a rate of $17 per hour to work 10 weeks over the summer.
So moved.
Moved by Ernie. Second?
Second.
Second by Jeff. Further discussion? Maureen, you want to tell us about that?
Jeff was.
Or Jeff? Or both of you?
Jeff was getting a summer employee to cover the tree, adding the trees to our inventory. And we advertised it after last week's meeting. We only got the one applicant. He is, Jeff, a college student at Alfred in
Environmental studies, yeah.
So,
That's good.
Any relation to?
yes.
Yeah, I want a thorough background check, fingerprints. But yeah, I had an interview with him the other day. It went good. I'd like to get him in here tomorrow to start training with the GIS system. I'm going to have Brian do that. We're going to start right in Hammond Park. He'll be collecting all the data, DBH. He'll take a picture of the tree. The GIS will give the location, all that stuff. So
To inventory all the trees in the village?
he's gonna, yeah. I'd like to get him
Oh,
village
public
trees.
trees, yeah.
Village right away trees.
Great.
So it'll get us a good head start. And then once winter hits, then my guys can take over and we'll keep going for whatever's left.
Maureen, how many hours a week are you thinking?
Well, Jeff asked for 24, and that fits in the guidelines of the program. It can be up to 40 for 10 weeks, but he's looking at 24, so while it could vary a little bit, it's in the range of the amount of money he has to spend.
And then, does it need to be a student?
It has to be a student, it has to be 10 weeks, it's 40-hour maximum because that's at part-time 20 weeks, which is the maximum you're allowed to have according to civil service, and a whole bunch of other rules and regulations that go along with that program. It's usually used for DPWs, especially if you're like milling or paving roads, things like that.
All right. Moved by Ernie, second by Jeff. Any other comment on the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. I get a motion for permission to set a public hearing on July 2nd, 2025 to consider a local law to amend 285-44 sign regulations.
So moved.
Moved by Grace, second.
Second.
Second by Kristen. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Public hearing is set. I get a motion for permission to set a public hearing on July 2nd, 2025 to consider local law regulating the use of electric/motorized scooters and bikes.
So moved.
Moved by Grace, second.
Second.
Second by Jeff. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Public hearing is set. I get a motion to approve new members of the East Aurora Fire Department, including Colleen Okino, Menachem Katz, and Jillian Mum.
Motion.
So, second.
Moved by Jeff, second by Kristen. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. And can I get a motion for permission for the mayor to sign a landlord authorization for a special event permit at Fireman's Field for a private event on July 17, 2025? Applicant is 42 North Brewery.
So moved.
Moved by Steve, second.
Second.
Second by Jeff. Further discussion? Maureen, just tell us quick what that is.
There is an event at Fireman's Field. There's a private event, and 42 North was asked to supply beer for that event. In order to do that, they need permission from us because we are the owner of the property. We did this last year. We had no problems with the event.
All right. Any other discussion from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. There's no new business. Moving on to old business. Limit Planning Commission applications to 6. Maureen?
Okay, so we're not making a decision today, but it's a discussion to find out if we need to change, if we want to change the law. We randomly get a lot of applications all at once on both planning and zoning. Zoning governs themselves, but you guys govern planning. I spoke with Randy West, who is the chair of the Planning Commission, and we kind of laid out that an average of 6 applications sounded like the best limit based on the fact that each application is usually at least 30 minutes long. So for 6 applications, you're talking about a 3-hour meeting. If all 6 applications approve, they all come back to the village board at once, all have a public hearing at once, and everything like that. So in an effort to not have those huge meetings where there's 50 public hearings, also not to take our volunteers and, sit them in a
Stress
meeting
them.
for a long time. And then what would happen would be that if somebody came in after that, they would just get assigned to the next meeting from there.
And if it was an emergency issue or an urgent issue, you could still add a 7th?
I mean, we could always make an exception if
jam.
we really needed to,
Right.
but we really don't like to make exceptions.
And I talked to Randy, he said it's pretty rare that this happens anyway, that they go over 6. He wasn't,
It seems to like
He's
happen
totally
in a
fine
group,
with that, yeah.
and then the next one's, or so.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to burden our last meeting, 4 hours. I mean, if 6 is an average of 3 hours, it's a hefty, it's a lot meeting.
Yeah, it is. I'm fine with it. Everybody fine with it?
Yep.
All right, so I'll just work with Chris
We could
to
go
change
fine
what we
before
need
you
to
could.
change. Yep.
All right, old business, second issue, playground equipment. Who wants to take that? Jeff, you want to start?
Yeah, does everybody have the picture of that, the silly tree there?
Yep.
So I got the price for that. It's just under 16,000. They're charging 3,000 for freight. That's what brings it up.
Where is that, 16 with the freight?
Yeah, it's 16 total. So it's a Sourcewell quote, so we got a little bit of a discount. I thought it was in Michigan, but when I emailed the guy, he said it's actually in Missouri, because I was going to go pick it up if it was in Michigan. But it's a little farther than I thought. So we can either look for something else or...
That's the sale price on that one?
Yeah.
Well, this one wasn't on.
Yeah, it wasn't even on, this wasn't on
This
sale.
wasn't one of them?
Yeah.
What was the original one we talked about?
We didn't, yeah.
We didn't have one in particular.
Yeah.
I think there was one that Jeff suggested, but it was, I think, was it for older kids and you guys were looking for something?
I think
And it
we're,
was really similar to what we have already.
yeah, I think we're kind of looking for more sensory for really little kids.
Yeah, we were looking toddlers. We even took a survey of people playing and gave them choices, and most of them leaned towards the sensory. And this is a newer look too.
We showed them the picture and the people are, yeah, that's the one right there. We like that. Seemed like majority of people that talked to us were in favor of something along these lines. Something that, sensory experiences.
Does it need to be a tree or is it just?
It doesn't necessarily have to be this piece, no.
Yeah, it seems really expensive. Just looking at a little bit of the playground equipment online, that seemed really expensive
They're
for
all
what
really-
it is.
They're all
Everything's
Playgrounds
Well,
are
they're all expensive, but this is like twice the cost of
Yeah.
the other, like, sort of more standard playground
Yeah,
equipment.
the reason we didn't, the people lean towards this is
was a
because
little
this is
different.
not like, the other equipment was too similar to what we already have.
Yeah, it's like little kid
They're,
version.
they're like, let's do something that's a little different and provides a different experience, but we had no idea that that would be the cost at the time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We were all like, oh, okay, sounds good, yeah, we're doing something a little different.
Hey, Jeff, maybe we could call the vendor that the town used for their last one to see if they have something they could show us.
Yeah.
Would that, I
Could
mean,
look,
is
we
that
could look
good?
further.
I don't know. The only thing is that we were in a rush with the sale, but these aren't on sale unless you really are stuck on this. And if you are, we'll have to find $9,000 to move in there.
Well, we're not stuck on this. This
No.
is just something that,
We thought it was really cool.
yeah,
People liked it.
Informal, what do you think to the parents there and the others who were there at the meeting? And we kind of gravitated toward this. So maybe
Try to
we
find
could
something similar.
find something similar that's less expensive.
Yeah, we could look further.
Whatever you guys want to do.
I'll do some digging tomorrow.
All right. That work?
And if it helps, when you do get those quotes too, I have some good friends that are in the shipping industry that may be able to help with some of that cost.
Yeah, that's what he said from Little Tykes. He said that we could arrange our own shipping.
Right.
I'm just not sure. He said the crate is 14 feet long and it's 1,500 pounds.
That's great.
So it's big.
All right, so you guys will work with Jeff on that. Anything else on the playground equipment? All right, second speakers in communications, final chance to come up and talk on any topic. Please keep it under 2 minutes. Holly?
Hello, Holly Maciejewski, 218 Center Street, East Aurora. And I was so reluctant to speak tonight because I may have been outspoken lately about a tree issue. So I thought maybe I should just not say anything. But I couldn't bring myself to not say anything about the pickleball because I realize that I sit in my yard in the morning and I have a cup of coffee. I sit in my yard in the evening and I have a glass of wine. And it's one of the joys of my life, being there. And I realize that on this board there's Mr. Raby, Mayor Mercurio, Steve Lazikis. You all have the same luxury of not hearing pickleball when you may have coffee or a glass of wine at night. And it's a beautiful thing. And I don't know how we can look at our neighbors on Sycamore Street who are in this terrible position. And I really, Leslie spoke eloquently at the last meeting, and I really hadn't thought about it at all. And I thought, oh, how would I feel if that was me? And I'm hoping that everybody was listening to that and saying, wow, that's really, really not good for her quality of life or her neighbor's quality of life. And how can we not care? How can we not take that into consideration? And then, on top of that, I took a walk. I always walk. So I'm walking through the park the other day, I think it was Thursday, and there were people playing pickleball in Hamlin Park. They had brought their own net, which is, I don't know about portable nets, but I learned it that day, a portable net. And I thought, okay, so they're not really supposed to be playing here right now, but they've brought a portable net, and do we expect our Pat Welch, our chief of police, to be governing that and making sure they're not doing it? No. So it's problem after problem, and I think that the pickleball courts should be moved. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Holly. Next, Rachel?
Rachel Francis, 225 Sycamore Street. Be careful of people who have files. I found this in my file, okay? And it's the short environmental assessment form that was filled in 2021 by our late village administrator, Kathy Thomas. And it's about the pickleball courts and all the courts, parking lots, basketball court. It's that whole project, July 2021. And here's the two questions that she answered no on that I think should have been a yes, okay? Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? She said no. I disagree. The next question is, will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? She said no. I say yes. So I'm going to give Kathy Thomas, the late Kathy Thomas, the benefit of the doubt and call it innocence or ignorance when she answered those questions no. But you do not have that luxury, especially with this research in hand. You cannot claim ignorance. You cannot claim innocence on this issue. There should be no more discussion on pickleball in Hamlin Park, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. Anyone else want to speak? Sir?
Kurt Colopy, 365 South Grove. Not close enough to Hamlin Park that it bothers me, so I'll have to take their word for it. Playground equipment, okay, a few weeks ago, our county legislator came to us and said $7,000 for playground equipment, and it looks like that's what's being taken up tonight with this discussion about a new piece of activity equipment, okay, which is fine and good. But I took a walk down there to take a look at what we have, okay? And I'm talking about mostly the very colorful climb all over it and jump and hang and that type of equipment that's there in the area that's sort of has the Fisher-Price plaque on it. And a lot of pieces of this equipment are just broken or worn out, and I presume that, you know, if I can see it, and I'm not a playground guy, I'm well beyond the age of having children that are intensively use it, but I did tour it with a guy that does have a 4-year-old son, okay, and we were seeing, you know, there's some of the climb stuff and some of the sort of climb net stuff, it's not really a net, you know, is broken, and some of it's just probably it's plastic and it's winter wear, and you know, the changing in the temperatures causes this stuff to brittle and break. We could get, and we should not, you know, if we have money for new playground equipment, that's wonderful. We should not ignore repairing what we have. And, you know, I walked here tonight through that area, and there's kids all over it, you know. It's not like this doesn't get used. So it would be a reasonable investment. I imagine it's sort of a, you know, replacement parts for playground equipment I don't imagine are cheap, but, you know, we should do that, okay? And if it takes a few grand to get these replacement parts, because it's all custom kind of stuff, okay, we should not ignore the maintenance of what we got. So that's one topic. The other thing I'd like to do is share a story that happened just this week in my backyard, and I told you I live on South Grove Street. I'm almost all the way to South, okay? So I'm right near the Nature Conservancy, little pocket park conservation area there, which is a perfect transit for deer, you know, coming up from Casanova Creek, you know. And my wife, some of you know her, Mary Ann, because she's on one of the boards.
it's a continual frustration because she's also a gardener. But in the middle of her lily of the valley patch, if you will, in the backyard, all of a sudden I hear a scream. There is a fawn, a fairly recently born fawn, in her lily of the valley patch. And she makes a hoot and a holler, and she really has it, you know, because all of her plants get eaten by the deer, including the ones that are resistant to deer. And probably all the gardeners in town have the same problem, and I understand it because it's right there in my backyard. But one thing I know about baby deer is that they don't have a scent, and they do not have child care or baby fawn care, and their mothers will leave them in what they perceive as a safe spot and go off and do whatever mother deer do, which I presume is graze somewhere, and then come back for that fawn later, okay? And I've seen this happen other places. When we lived on the other side of the state, we had something very similar happen, okay, with the fawn in our yard in some tall grass, and eventually the mother came and the fawn went on its way. I'm not so quick to jump on the feed and crossbow killing of the deer, okay? And I'd like us to think about that real hard. I don't know a better answer, okay? And I don't mean to get on in anybody's case because they propose this, okay? But to a certain extent, it's our convenience that drives our vigorous objective to rid the village of deer. We need to think about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Kurt.
To directly answer your question.
Yeah, about the playground equipment.
About the playground equipment, we have thought that does need repair, the larger play area. And was it we were having difficulty getting some of the parts, finding them, some of the stepping things and the grabbing things. It's either outdated or just they weren't made, no longer made, that sort of thing. So that is part of the problem with that. And in the meeting that we had to select a new piece, we also spoke to some people that were playing at the playground, and they were for it, trying to raise money to completely change that area. I mean, keep it up to date, keep it safe until we can afford to do something with that, but the pieces are obsolete and we just can't seem to.
And I am not surprised by that answer, okay?
So, but you're looking at, you know, that's a $400,000, $500,000 switch over.
Yeah.
You know, one piece.
I realize it's a lot more than 7.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
Or 16, okay? But, so I retired, I have an engineering degree. Maybe we can make some of these parts, okay? And I'd be happy to chat with Jeff or walk over there and just see what we can do with it. Some of the molded plastic stuff,
Yeah.
okay, that stuff would be hard to come by.
And that's a lot of it that's beat up and broken and.
Yep, and if that's the case, then we should sort of disassemble or take that part out of there so we don't have a broken piece of something in there that, you know, and, you know, one of the problems with, I imagine, playground equipment people, you know, people who do this for a living, is that the liability insurance for this kind of stuff as the manufacturer of the equipment has got pretty huge, okay?
Well, here's the other conundrum. We also were there to discuss starting a fundraising campaign to pay for a new playground. And when I spoke to the principal at Parkdale Elementary, there's a group there who right now have just started a fundraising campaign to build a new playground at Parkdale. So we would be competing with them to get a full replacement.
Be completing on the fundraising or?
Yeah, because they're doing the $400,000 playground at Parkdale, raising the money. They would be raising the money at the exact same time that our group would be. we'd be competing against each other, which isn't going to work. It's, so we're trying to come up with a solution as to how can we make this playground safer and get through a couple of years.
That's a not development. I'm not going to use the right language here, but children with disabilities or handicaps, they're one of their objectives is a playground that is compatible with all different, for all different kinds of children of different motive capabilities. Thank you. Which is wonderful. But that playground, if it's like other things at Parkdale, is going to be essentially restricted in terms of access and off hours. Okay, I'm not absolutely sure of that, but we should investigate that as to whether that really is a viable substitute. I don't know if the school board
What's a viable substitute?
for a public playground versus
No. I think his comment, what he meant was, we don't want to compete in a fundraising effort, but in the same community.
At the same
for
exact time.
for a similar project.
And I understand
And that's what he's
that
referring to.
leaves the children that play in Hamlin Park, which are many, and which are many hours, a week, more than, what the Parkdale facility is currently used, okay? And I don't know everything here, but we should, and I'm sympathetic to the fundraising thing, but, and it is a lot of money.
You have two groups that are both attempting to do the same thing and raise funds at the exact same time for the same.
I'm guessing this
it
is
would
the
be-
Educational Foundation?
Yeah, it's whatever the group is that they have that raises money for, enhancements at the school.
Yeah.
It's, so that's their thing, and they're starting their campaign right now. So it makes it a little harder for us to do the things we want to do to get our playground in Hamlin Park up to snuff, where it's, and just to get it to where it's safe, and we don't have these.
Let's start by fixing what we got, and then we'll have
Right.
to think about.
Agreed.
Agreed.
From there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you could, as an engineer, if you have any ideas.
Well, some of those plastic parts on the climbing portion of it are just basically tubes, so it's getting the right kind of plastic, and of course you want the right color and whatever, and that might be a little harder to fashion. So I know I'm not the only engineer in the room, so, but, I think we could do something to improve that situation. And again, the parts where we have these molded plastic sort of, I'll call them a mushroom. It doesn't really look like a mushroom, but it's got a flat top and the kids can stomp and hang from them and so on. The broken ones we should just take out of there if we can't get the replacement part. So,
Thanks for offering, Kurt.
yeah.
Appreciate it. All right, anyone else?
No, it's just about the playground equipment. Just an idea. Holly Maciejewski, 218 Center Street. Would Fisher Price have access to or have any of that type of equipment that they might want to give our village
They
as a
were contacted.
parting gift?
Yeah,
Oh, they were?
contacted.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. That's fine.
We tried.
They didn't actually manufacture it. It wasn't their, no.
All right, anybody else, speakers and communications? All right, moving on to department head report. Pat?
Okay, nothing out of the ordinary. Currently, we are focused on preparation for the Heart of Music Fest, and we are, graciously accepting the assistance of a couple agencies. So we're going to be in good shape for that, we hope, this weekend. And simultaneously, Hallmark Holiday Touchdown is starting in our town, our village rather, Friday, maybe even before Friday. But the bigger event starts Friday for us, and we've been in contact with them and planning with them. And the next week will be busy with special accommodations from the police department, but we're confident we can make it all go well. And that's pretty much all I have.
Very good, thank you, Pat. Jeff?
The contractor started the bathrooms today at Hamlin Park. They broke ground on that today, so that's good. We got the pole out of there, put all the facilities underground. My guys also are getting ready for the movie shoot. We're going to be getting the Christmas decorations up this week. We are going to be starting milling on the 16th and 17th. The milling company suit coat is going to be coming out, so we'll be getting going on that. And I am getting all the odds and ends done for Park Place. It took me a while to get a curbing company out here, but I got a meeting with one of them tomorrow for pricing.
Very good. Are you going to take down the high school banners when you put up the Christmas decoration?
Yeah, so we're going to have to take them down. I talked to the director today, and he's unsure about Friday because a storm's coming, so he was going to let me know tomorrow, I think. But we'll have to take the banners down, put the Christmas decor up, take the Christmas stuff down, put the banners back up.
It looks like you finished the high school banners right around Main and Hamlin, right? Is that the kind of stop?
Yep.
Like, is there, I don't know how many you've got to take down. Can you just move them down to the other end, or is it like so many you got to take them down and store them for a week and a half and then put them back up?
I think they're only going to be down for like 2 days.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not going to be long.
All right.
So.
We're getting paid overtime for all this work?
Yeah, so I think I really don't want to put the Christmas decor up during Music Fest. So I was going to have my guys come Sunday morning to put all those up.
Jeff, did you want to touch base on the sewer issue with the bathrooms in the park?
Yeah, I'm not really sure exactly what we're going to be doing. So the drawings of the sewer was off by the architects. So there's going to be a change order in there. Mm-hmm. We might have to put a grinder pump in because the elevation's way off. So I'm going to be talking to the contractor tomorrow about that.
They can't hit a lower invert further away?
No.
It's always something.
Weird.
All right, anything else, Jeff?
No, that's it.
Thank you. Liz?
May was a very busy month for the building department. You'll be seeing our report for your next meeting. We've been busy on fire inspections. There's been a decent response from the multifamily dwelling fire inspection letters that we sent out. So we're continuing that process. Primarily, that's educating the property owners as to why we're doing it, what we need to look for, and also those residents who are less than happy to have us there. But it's a necessary thing. And then the other thing was, we're going to be doing a sweep of temporary signage in the village, try to remove them all from telephone poles and in the random places that we find them all the time. And all of the fire inspections for Heart of Music Festival have been completed. So we'll be looking at the enclosed outdoor spaces to verify egress from that. But that's the last piece of our puzzle for that project.
Thanks, Liz. For your sign sweep, you're working with the DPW?
Oh, no, they're busy enough. We're going to take care of it on our own. They've got enough of their own stuff to do.
The corner of Bell and Quaker, you can start there.
You can start there.
Anything else, Liz?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Shane?
I don't know if Maureen was going to cover this or not, but we're working on putting our RFP out for trash collection in the near future. I think Maureen's got all the, what we're looking to put into that for the information that we'll be putting out.
So, we're gonna have to change the law, and we're getting the documents ready, but pretty much all the vendors are saying you have to go totes. Otherwise, our price is gonna more than double. And more than double will raise taxes a lot.
And what we're finding is a lot of companies won't even bid it or put a bid out because they all want to go to automatic one driver trucks to pick up the totes. So that's all got to change.
What we're looking at doing is, each resident would get 2 95-gallon totes, one for garbage, one for recycling. That would be the limit. and all the garbage or recycling needs to fit inside. And then we're looking at different variations of pickups for large items, maybe once a month, or maybe asking to see if they have options where you can call in and have it picked up at your convenience within a couple of days. And then we're also looking at if there's chemical pickups, electronic pickups involved, where you can call in and have it picked up. And the other thing that would be a change is businesses, if they cannot fit their garbage in the 195 gallon garbage, they will need a dumpster. If they can't get their recycling in the 195 gallon, they're going to need the recycling box dumpster type thing.
A lot of dumpsters.
Yeah.
A lot of dumpsters.
Yeah, that's pretty much how the other municipalities have it. And the vendors are saying that they just don't do bigger than that. That's what that's the model they're all going to. So,
Yeah, currently what, 4? We can put 4 cans out?
well, it depends, well, it's 430 gallon. So 195 is, you're in the same.
75%.
75%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, yep.
I bought the 95s probably 3 years ago. They're great. They're easy. They're durable. You roll them out. They basically roll themselves practically.
Well-
Easy to do. It holds everything. I don't even have to bring them out every week sometimes.
And one of the benefits we're finding out is some companies, if you get the totes through them, part of the contract would be they maintain them. So if you have a broken wheel or a broken hood, the resident calls the company and they come to you and fix it.
Versus our DPW doing that?
Right.
Yes. And they also said that the truck drivers carry them. So sometimes if they notice something's broken when they're going by, they'll fix it right away. So that was kind of interesting to find out too.
It's a lot different than having your stuff thrown all over the place.
It is really nice. I mean, I don't know who sees it, but
Especially
like,
if they have to fix it.
That's what, yeah.
You're right. They're going to be more careful with it.
There's a little incentive.
Yeah.
the totes are nice. It looks clean. It looks neat at garbage time, so.
And the totes would belong to the property. So if somebody moves, those totes have to stay. If somebody moves and they take their totes with them, the new people that live there would have to buy new totes.
What do we do? Would we add it to their water bill? That's the final bill,
It would not
right?
go on water bill.
No, I think they
Actually,
would-
we're gonna have to find out in the RFP about that.
Yeah, well, that's the one paperwork I got about the one company is that they would, that the new resident would have to call them to purchase new ones because the original totes would all be included in the RFP if that,
I'm doubting many people would take the totes with them, but I'm just saying.
Right.
If you make them put down a deposit and they get it back when they leave and leave
Just
it.
sounds like an education piece that we need
Right.
people
Yeah.
know.
yeah.
Right, yeah, that's,
Yeah, because some municipalities, you own your tote, you take
well,
it.
you don't, I mean, you don't want to be in a position where somebody takes their tote and then you're moving to
No,
another
I
house
just-
in the
but
village.
why would you want-
Say, oh, I'm going to leave it and be a good person. You get there, there's no totes.
Yeah, spray paint the house number on the side of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Doesn't it have our town logo on them anyway? I mean,
No, so we're not, I don't think we have enough time to do that. So if we go with this, we're gonna be either, depending on what vendor we get, we will be getting their totes. To go and buy our own custom totes is gonna take quite a while, and Modern would not renew our contract the way it is.
What, just out of curiosity, what happens, say we go to waste management, we get waste management totes, and then in 9 years, we switch to somebody else?
They come pick up all the totes, and the new company would bring out new totes, or at that time, if we got village totes. But there's the difference, because like a lot of municipalities who have their own village totes, it's owned by the person. So when they leave, the new owner has to buy new totes. And then the municipality has to keep a stock of totes, the municipality has to fix the totes. Doing it this way, we don't have to keep a stock of totes, so, I mean, that's a lot of money to keep a stock of totes, and to keep having all the parts, and then hope that the parts don't, go away or anything like that, where you have to buy something different because they don't have the ones that fit what you have. So, this is kind of nice, I mean,
Take the middleman out of it. One less person you have to go through.
I'd be most interested in the large item pickup, like what happens with that.
Yeah,
I'll figure that out.
ways that we're finding they're doing it is, you can do once a month instead of every week, because they want to streamline, every company's trying to streamline it as much as possible. Once a month, and it would stay the 3 or 4?
We could do 3 or 4 items once a month.
Yeah, or a couple of the companies, you can call them and say, I have 3 things to come pick up, and they'll schedule a date and time to come get them.
Yeah, we kind of liked that one, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's more convenient than having a couch and a love seat sitting in your driveway for 3 weeks until they come and get picked up. But
we gotta look at what the price, I mean, we'll have to see what the price is.
Just speaking, it's not really a police issue, but it becomes one. In some of these communities where they have big garbage day twice a year, and they put huge piles of what the people consider their garbage out front of their houses, other people come in and go through it and leave a huge mess. So it becomes, it's great because you're getting rid of all your stuff at once, but the disaster left behind from those large garbage days, if you go through those communities, it's people go through and they pick through it, and there's going to be pickers of everything, but they leave quite a mess behind when they have those large community garbage days.
It's not a large community garbage day, it's just the large garbage pickup, the large items.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're taking more regular garbage, it's
Right.
just the large items.
So, and they do, I think Maureen mentioned, they do have, some of the companies now have things such as toxic waste or whatever it's called, pickup, where you can call them, they'll mail you a bag to put whatever you got in. It's a fairly large bag, and you just leave that by your house, and they'll come up to your house and pick it up. And they also do that with electronics too, if you call them and do that. So that's kind of neat too.
Yeah, so we're interested to see what they offer.
What the cost will be with all those different things.
All right, well, thank you. Anything else, Shane?
No, that's it.
That was
Very good.
riveting. I really enjoyed it.
Maureen?
I know, right? So Happy New Year. It's the first day of our fiscal new year, and
Pat and Jeff, wide open.
It's like Christmas.
no, it's not like Christmas. The tax bills went out. People have received them. They've already started coming and paying, so those blue bills will be all over our halls for the next little bit. So people need to remember to pay their taxes. They're due by July 1st. And we are also preparing for the movie, and our Christmas decorations will be in our office. So people think we're weird, but it's what's happening.
Excellent. Anything else, Maureen?
Nope.
Very good. Grace?
Yes, I have a couple of things. First was I participated in the fire department mass casualty incident training. It was well attended. We had over 70 participants, a bunch of actor participants. It was really cool to see all the guys work. We definitely had some bugs to work out, so I'm glad we did this training before some of the bigger events this summer. But yeah, it was great. It was really cool. The 2 laws that we're going to look at in a couple weeks, I'd highly recommend everyone read through them very carefully, because these are things that will be making lasting impacts that we will have to talk about for years. So they're big ones. And then the permitting process, I'm just getting a lot of complaints about how difficult it is to get some of these permitting things through here. There's a couple small businesses that are upset about how they're getting different permits and how it's being handled and going back and forth between building department and village and all that. So I don't know how to make that easier, but it seems to be a common problem.
Any thoughts on that, Liz or Maureen?
That the permitting process is hard.
There's one specific
I know
one
which one you're
currently,
talking about.
yes.
And
They just feel like they've got to run around because it was like sent to planning and then taken away from planning, and then what they're applying for got changed, and they're upset that the decision wasn't known before it was reacted to.
yeah, so they came for a special use permit and a site plan. It was found that what they were looking for wasn't something that was allowed, so it was pulled off the agenda. I think they were supposed to be having further conversations. It was recommended to do a temporary use. When they called me for a temporary use, I was like, well, we don't really do temporary uses for an entire summer. I had contacted Chris Trapp, who concurred with that, and I contacted them back. They called code enforcement, and I think they were working on changing something. So they found, I guess I'm confused on a little bit because the person came in and told me information, but it did not align with the information that Liz had.
Okay.
So sometimes the applicants tell us things and it's not necessarily equal. So I believe they are looking to come back before planning, but they haven't sent in their updated application for that. So they were looking to come in and get a temporary use permit. I let them know that that isn't the process, but I would take it. He did not have all the documents there that are listed on the permit that is required. I let him know what he needed and said he could come back. But again, I could not guarantee him that he'd get a permit because it's not what we normally do. So.
Okay. So if there's a lot of questions with that kind of stuff, he can always come in here and talk to all of us about it, right?
They can, but they still have to go through the process.
Yeah.
I mean, they can't go, or I guess we can't have every person who wants a permit coming in here and not going through the process, but they should fill out the paperwork.
Just a
to
clear
get on the
understanding
agenda.
between you guys and building department or code enforcement, so everyone's on the same page of what needs to happen.
For this particular applicant?
Or any applicant, because there's the sign one we all got copied on the other day too, where the wine store sign had an issue with what she was getting with the sign being approved and then not approved. I don't know the ins and outs of all these situations, I just hear all these grumblings. I want to make sure we're crossing our Ts and dotting our Is on them.
Did I get the wine store?
Yeah, that was the one that was sent to us, but it's really for zoning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you, Grace. Molly?
Yeah, I just wanted to reintroduce an idea that I had previously brought up about intersections, and now that it's summer, with people on Main Street, and my concerns about people getting hit, pedestrians. I know the roads are going to get redone this summer, yeah. And we were talking about the buffer zone and talking about the intersections, and we had talked about, I brought up the idea of some of those solar powered signs that illuminate when in crosswalks. And so I have some information on that. I guess I would want to refer it to the safety committee and just have you guys take a look at it.
So we wouldn't need, Jeff wouldn't need to wire electric to the spot? It would simply be solar powered the whole time?
Yeah. So John Hawaii had brought this up to me I don't know, over a year ago about his concerns, and some other people through him have come and asked me about it. There was some sort of pinch points coming into town on South by the pool, on Girard and Buffalo crossing over to Knox.
That's a big one.
Some places on Main Street, especially the one by the library and the club, because there's that weird where Payne comes in and Whaley comes in. Maybe that might be what. So, yeah, I don't know what the cost of them are now. We had a quote. He thought they were about $8,000, but that was a couple years ago, and that was just that particular model. So, I guess we'd have to do some more research, but I don't know. Painting. Some of you, I know, don't love it, but Orchard Park has painted their crosswalks a really bright color, and you can differentiate them. I'm just really concerned about that, so I just wanted to bring that up again, and maybe we could look into it further. And I'll send you that information to you guys.
I get a lot of people complaining about Girard and Buffalo Road.
Yeah.
Trying to cross over into the park. I had one mom tell me her and her daughter somebody had stopped their car so that they could cross, and then as they were crossing in front of the car, she could see the car behind them wasn't going to stop. So she grabbed her daughter and pulled her back, and that car hit the car that had stopped and knocked it right through the intersection. It would have just crushed
Yeah.
both of them.
Right.
So I wouldn't be adverse to, I was a little nervous about how they might look with the blinking light and everything, but when you look at them now, they're not really any bigger than a normal crosswalk sign. And if you don't need to wire them, I mean, if we could even experiment and just do one at Girard and Seneca Street or whatever the safety committee thinks, just to try it out and see how it's received.
Yeah.
See how effective it is. I guess you need one on each side probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they come as probably a pair, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Does the, and Shane probably knows this answer, does the state, on a state road, can we ask them to cover something like that? They pay for the traffic lights, they do everything else. Is this something we could petition the state for?
I can tell you right now, we have to get one in front of the Depew High School, and the mayor from Depew is actually paying it for through a grant, but we had to get permission from the DOT.
Yeah, you definitely have to get permission from the DOT
They
to
have
put
to
it in.
approve the design and everything.
We looked at that for Pine Street, and the county would have installed a permanent powered one, but we would have had to pay for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if the state would allow the cheaper version, or they would.
These are the
mandate.
ones we're
Seems
looking
like
at are
there's a
solar.
lot of places
they
that are
are.
going to
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
solar
Oh, okay.
ones now, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the ones we are looking at, he's getting it through a grant, Greener Communities, whatever. But this is how long it's taking. We met with the DOT back in October, and they're still not up,
Right.
so.
Is the Greener Communities coming out in the CFA in July, Maureen?
I will have to check on that one.
That's where I think it was like 16 grand.
Yeah.
And these are speed control ones. These aren't the.
These aren't the ones that you hit that when you're
No,
walking
these are-
up
these
there?
are- these
Oh,
are
the speed
control.
monitoring signs. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That, yeah. Traffic, yeah. The state would have to definitely approve it. I don't know if they would mandate they install them or we install them. I don't know how that would work, but we can find all that out.
And it'd be the county, right, on Seneca Street.
No, it's a state.
Oh, is it?
State
Yeah,
deal.
it's a state and county road, but state supersedes it.
Got it.
That might be in the CFA. I'm going to that meeting next Wednesday about that grant, so I'll see if I can find something about that. Because if we can write a grant for it, I'm your gal. I can help with that. Even better. Okay, I just wanted to bring that up again. Thanks.
Yeah, and if you could, Molly, if you could send around to the board the one.
Yeah, I have the brochures. I just forgot to shoot the email to everybody, and I'll forward that.
So we want to take a look at them first? Do you want to have the safety committee take a look at it? What do you think?
I think everybody take a look, have the safety committee look at it, we can look at it, start having conversations with the state and figure out what we would need to do to get their approval, since they're going to be coming through soon.
Mhm.
I mean, might as well go through on all cylinders at once.
Sounds good. Good?
Thanks.
Thanks, Molly. Jeff?
The only thing is, I don't know if we are planning, maybe under old business for our next meeting, to do like a post-event debrief on the Heart of Music Fest. Some of the things I'm concerned about initially, one is I don't believe code of conducts are being acknowledged for the direct sales. I know that online sales, there's a box that you checked that you acknowledge the code of conduct, but I think the code of conduct was being advertised as to keep the riffraff out. And I think the direct sales at the venues, and I know at the farmer's market, there's no acknowledgement of a code of conduct for those, so.
There's no mechanism.
There's no mechanism, right?
Yeah.
So that's just one thing.
That's it. It's the tailgaters are generally the
Right.
agreed upon, the big issue, right?
Right.
The people who show up who don't contribute to the charities and don't even go in the venues and then just show up and get hammered and walk around with a cooler full of beer.
And I still would like to have a list of the beneficiaries, because some of it seems like it's all over the place, like from what we originally were told, who was benefiting from this event. Again, through the village. The taxpayers are picking up all the overtime. Our volunteers are committing the entire day, volunteer firefighters, to support this event. And I'm, again, expressing my concern about the beneficiaries of this event. And again, it seems like it's changing all the time from what we're hearing from our community members. And I think right now there's a banner posted at the rink that's advertising that the East Aurora Fire Department's a beneficiary, where we know that is not the case. So I would just like to have a discussion about that after the event happens. Maybe everything will be great, but I think it's important for us to talk about.
But I think we absolutely should make sure they're accountable for everything they agreed to before the event, after the event, as well as any side effects that happen throughout. And we also talked about possibly changing our fee structure, right, to make sure that the village is reimbursed for
City of Buffalo.
public fund outlay.
City of
for the
Buffalo's
event,
doing that
yeah.
right now with large events. Any organizers have to pay overtime or for police coverage. You know, and that's just one component of it, but we got the DPW, especially, they're going to be on triple overtime this weekend, switching decorations out and also covering the Music Fest. So I just think it needs to be reviewed.
Agreed. Anything else, Jeff?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Ernie?
I would probably just echo what Jeff said. It's been something that's, I've been thinking about quite a bit. And it's a big ask to use our community and our resources and the volunteer firemen and, you know, the inconvenience for some people, you know, for the benefit, and then see the benefit go to other towns that aren't even within the town of Aurora. I find that to be troublesome. Towns that aren't even attached or connected or adjacent.
Defensive.
And that doesn't set right with me.
No.
And I really have an issue with that. You know, but I'll just leave it at that. I'd like to see how this works. I hope it goes well, but I'm crossing my fingers. But I do have a bit of regret, you know, as to, supporting this. I always felt it was good for our community, but there are some things now that I see happening, particularly with the donations and where they're going, and that I really, find some of that unpalatable. And that's, I'll leave it at that.
I feel like we're taken advantage of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I was.
that's putting it bluntly. Exactly.
Yeah, I was, I was reluctant, yes, and, if I knew then what I know now, I would be an adamant no.
I would not disagree with that. And I feel like I've been played, and I don't like that feeling. And we'll see how this goes, but I'm really upset by how some of the things that I'm hearing about.
And, of course, we're not saying that we expect an applicant to, send money to any of the village agencies, but we do expect transparency and consistency with what they tell us.
Agreed.
And where the funds end up.
Yeah. So that's it for me.
Kristen?
Yeah, I think that's all very well said on that angle, so I'm not going to reiterate any of that. As far as the safety stuff goes, how do we feel about everything that they've got filed? I don't care necessarily about all the Ts and Is on their state paperwork, but as far as ambulance coverage and everything like that, having a doctor or paramedic or whatever it was on site.
I called the organizer today to ask for the Part 18 that we're still
Yep.
waiting on, and he assured me that it was done, and he was going to bring it to Maureen tomorrow. So
Wasn't that due like a
this
month and a half
Friday
ago?
at 4 p.m.
Okay.
It was due to them, but to me by Friday
Okay.
at 4.
Okay.
Yeah. But I told him we're looking for it, and he said I'll have it in.
What happens if they don't have it?
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
What happens if they don't have it? What happens if they don't, and/or don't turn it in? What happens Saturday morning?
Well, Friday at 4,
What
you will,
happens Friday
the
at
world
4?
will get an email from me if I do not have that. You'll probably get it from me before then if I don't have it.
But why so tight? Why,
That was what was,
we agreed to that?
Yeah, well, that's what
We
we
set
said.
that out?
We said Friday at 4?
yeah. It was one of their restrictions to have it by Friday at 4.
What if-
Could have been
what if they
2
don't-
Fridays before.
But if they don't have that, or if they don't turn it in, is the event shut down on Saturday?
Technically, they don't have a permit from us at that point, and they don't have their Part 18 approved, so.
From the Department of
They
Health.
don't have that from the Department of Health, so.
Right? I mean, if the Department of Health has health requirements to keep the event safe, safety requirements, and they don't meet them, then they consider it not a safe event, right? Like any event over 5 to 15,000 has to have a dedicated ambulance, right? That's all part of it. So if they're not going to meet that, then it's not considered a safe event.
In my, Aaron and I had a meeting with the gentleman that put the paperwork together for Heart of Music, And one thing that did come up that I had a concern over is what they consider the footprint of Music Fest for their responsibility for EMS and their ambulance. Talking to that gentleman, his opinion was the footprint was Main Street from Main and Hamlin to Olean and just down the two side streets where the bars that lead to the bars. And my question was, well, what do you mean your footprint? Well, what our ambulance will respond to. Well, first of all, they don't dispatch the ambulance. We will dispatch the ambulance. But I said to him, I said, okay, somebody leaves Main and Hamlin and decides to cut down Willow to Oakwood to go to Wallawines and stumbles in front of a car and gets run over. You're saying your ambulance isn't going to be responsible for that? Well, yeah, that would be out of our footprint.
Wow.
I said no.
This guy's not in charge of where the ambulance goes.
No, but he wanted to think he was. And he said, well, how are we going to, we'll have to dispatch the ambulance. I said, you're not dispatching the ambulance. What do you mean you? How are you going to know somebody got ran over by a car? Mm-hmm. And he said, well, we'd get notified. I said, yeah, maybe by us or the police or fire when the 911 calls come in. They don't go to you, they come to us and we dispatch it. I think we can handle it, but I'm concerned if they say, no, our ambulance can't respond to that location.
Let's ensure they're not in a position to say that, right?
Right.
I mean, we've got AMR's got our regular contracted ambulance coverage. I had you call the county and get us another ambulance from the county just for the community outside of the event, right?
Right.
And then they're bringing, they said two.
Well, two
dedicated
ambulances, but one of them is going to act as their first aid tent location. So there wasn't really a yes or no on that. I said, but the second ambulance is going to be transporting. And there was some pushback on that, but I think they understand that it has to be able to transport. Having an ambulance there isn't any good if somebody needs a surgeon and they're just there putting Band-Aids on people. So we'll see how that plays out.
Okay.
Chris?
And is that whole first aid tent, is that all properly staffed according, I know there was some discussion about that, about whether it's a
According to
doctor or
what
paramedic.
we were told, what they put in their Part 18 paperwork is AMR has a doctor fast team or something to that effect that will respond within 15 minutes, which meets the Part 18 requirements. So that's what they put down, that's what the doctor would.
Didn't they initially say they were going to use, they could count an EMR, an EMT as a doctor?
Not an EMT, a paramedic.
A paramedic as a doctor. Is that what they're doing?
Again, I'm not positive. We got to get the paperwork to see exactly. We asked for copies after that meeting, and they said, oh, sure, we can mail them to you. Nobody, Aaron, nor I, has gotten anything yet.
Well, it sounds like we'll have 3 to 4 ambulances, which I believe is more than we've ever had. And we'll have our police department plus that. You were able to get how many others?
Yeah, so to answer Kristen's first question, just before I forget, as far as the incident safety plan, Jeff and I together have been meeting regularly. Shane's also been involved. And tomorrow, we all meet, all law enforcement agencies, the security company, the fire department, Jeff. Everybody's meeting in the morning to go over, so everybody understands what's expected of everybody that day and what our plan is. And I want to give a shout out to the town of Orchard Park because they've been wonderful. Not only obviously do we have an agreement down the line with shared services, but we've run out of safety barricades, and I don't want to get too far into it because it's law enforcement planning, but they're very willing to help us with a lot of things, and they're offering a lot of services to us outside of manpower. So we're very thankful for that because it's helping make it safer.
That's great to hear. So yeah, thanks to Orchard Park, and thank you for the relationship there. That's terrific.
I'm echoing over here.
Very good. Kristen?
That's all I've got now.
Excellent, thank you. Steve?
Just to echo everything that everybody just said about the Heart of Music, and I felt a little duped too, being an advocate for the whole event, and historically have loved the event, and felt it did a lot of good for the community. But I just feel that the organizer was maybe a little disingenuous with everything he said to us, and became a little bit more of a self-promotion for him, and a little sorry that I even stood up for his end of things. So with that said, nothing else.
Thank you, Steve.
Just a little disingenuous. I think he came and felt he told us what we wanted to hear, and then did as he wished.
Well, I'd like to think with the requirements that we added onto that permit, right, for the screened, no visibility fencing, the no cesspool of people down North Willow, the extra ambulances, the extra police officers, the 7,000 tickets instead of 10,000. I'd like to think the no backpacks in the venues.
I think
Like
the
said,
structure.
I'd like to think that we have a
I think in the
safe
last-
result from this, but
Probably
it'll be interesting.
the most thorough we've been on the security and safety measures. My disappointment is mostly in the leadership and how disingenuous they were.
All right. That's it, Steve?
Yes.
Very good. Two things, as far as the sign law, Liz, you've had a chance to have a thorough review of that sign law, right? Are you comfortable?
I've not read it.
You haven't read it yet?
Nope.
Okay. Can you make sure that Liz has a good view of it? I'd like to make sure that you consider it enforceable before we approve anything. You know what I mean? I don't want to approve something that you're like, I can't enforce this. What are you doing? You know, so I definitely would like to hear from you on that. Please.
I will do so.
Thank you. Second, I was invited to the Senior Center for the Rotary Club Vision of East Aurora essay contest that they do. George Janofsky reached out and asked me to be there for the presentation of the awards. They put it out to the middle school kids at Immaculate as well as at East Aurora Middle, and I think they had 200-some submissions of kids with their vision for East Aurora, and it was great. It was really interesting. Some of the essays were great. A lot of the essays were great. They actually sorted them by topic, and the third most frequent topic that kids chose was more playgrounds, and the fourth was playgrounds for handicapped children. So when we talked about the need for playgrounds in the community, right, that's echoed unsolicited by the kids in the community. So number one, by the way, was picking up litter in the village. That was their top topic. But it was great just to see the kids weigh in on the community and not just take things for granted, but actually, look forward to East Aurora and what it could look like in the future. So I appreciate the Rotary. I think they awarded each winner for each grade in both schools $300 each. So yeah, it was neat. It was a great thing. Rotary is really an impressive organization, so thanks to them. And that's all I had. Can I get a motion to adjourn at 8:34 PM?
So moved.
Moved by Steve, second.
Second.
Second by Jeff. For the discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you for having us.